Hello, teenagers. Are you wondering why you've been having more arguments with your parents lately? Are you feeling like your parents don't understand you? Don't worry, this is a normal process of growing up. We are here to explain to you firstly why you're experiencing these conflicts, and secondly, explore some different coping strategies. This will allow you to identify what you tend to use and decide what to do the next time you have a disagreement with your parents. Conflict with parents is one of the biggest stressors in a teenager's life. As teenagers grow older, they begin to want more autonomy over their own life. Part of being a teen is developing your own identity and opinions, one that is separate from your parents. It's what prepares you for adulthood. So because of this, many teens will seek a more friend-like relationship with their parents. In most families, this adjustment in family roles can cause a lot of fighting. You want to cover your walls with posters, but they don't understand why you don't like your kiddie wallpaper anymore. You think it's okay to hang at the mall every day after school, but they would rather have you play a sport. Does this sound familiar? Teens often get angry because they feel parents don't respect them and aren't giving them the space to do what they like. And parents get angry because they're not used to giving up control, or simply disagree with the teen's decisions. This is what we call a shift in power dynamics between parent and child. Having constant clashes is not healthy for the family, so using appropriate coping strategies will help this transition process go smoothly. So what are coping strategies? Coping strategies refer to the specific efforts, both behavioral and psychological, that people use to tolerate or minimize stressful events. Specifically, we will be addressing 2 problem-focused strategies and 2 emotion-focused strategies. They're most commonly used by teenagers. Emotion-focused coping is managing emotions from a stressful situation. This includes withdrawal and emotional outlet. On the other hand, problem-focused coping is aimed at actively resolving the stressful situation or altering the source of stress so that the feeling of stress is removed. This includes negotiating and support seeking. Despite common misconceptions, boys and girls don't actually differ that much in terms of what coping strategies they use. However, as you'll see later, there are minor differences. Most differences in coping strategies used actually stem from different cultural backgrounds within the family. Western cultures are considered individualistic cultures, where independent self-construals are encouraged. People are encouraged to express themselves and promote self-serving goals, so it's no surprise that a problem-focused strategies like negotiation is a more normal and frequently used coping strategy when it comes to relationship stress. However, in non-Western cultures, or collectivistic cultures, interdependent self-construals are prompted. This means that they value harmony and interdependence between family members and friends. Therefore, conformity and self-restraint in order to fit into one's proper place in the family is considered mature and sophisticated behavior. In this case, negotiation might not be the best strategy to cope with conflict. Instead, withdrawal coping strategies may be preferred, and more emotional control is needed. From this, we can see that emotion-focused coping is best used when the stressor cannot be changed, and problem-focused is used when it can be. Let's dive deeper to understand emotion-focused coping. Withdrawal behavior is both seen in people who internalize problems as well as people who externalize problems. When withdrawal is paired with the tendency to exit and avoid conflict altogether, people will have the tendency to internalize problems. For example, if Tom's parents say he can't go to the party tonight, he would shut his parents out by hiding in his room and not talking to them all day. This type of teenager is more prone to depression and anxiety. On the other hand, when withdrawal is paired with low problem-solving strategies, teenagers tend to externalize the problem. For example, if Tom's parents say he can't go to the party tonight, he may display behaviors like physical aggression, yelling, or sneaking out. This type of teenager is more prone to delinquent behaviors and habits that can potentially be translated into adult and future relationships. If you are a person that tends to internalize problems, rather than withdrawing, it may be a good idea to engage in healthy emotional outlet and support seeking, which we will talk about later in our video. If you are a person that tends to externalize problems, rather than withdrawing, it may be healthier for you to engage in the conflict in a healthy manner by actively seeking a positive solution to the problem. Due to the power differential that characterizes most parent-child relationships, the chances are you don't always get a say in arguments. If your family promotes more independent self-controls, active engagement into more conflict may actually not help the problem. It may even make the problem worse. Especially when emotions are high during an argument, temporary withdrawal in order to let emotions settle down and comply with your parents' wishes would be a more positive way to navigate conflicts in the long run. In other words, pick your battles. Emotional outlet allows an individual to use different methods of avoidance to control their emotions and distract themselves from a stressful situation. In our case, the use of non-active coping strategies reflects a power differential between parent and child, as the parent is left with less bargaining power and may feel that it is difficult to communicate. Instead, they are left to control their own emotions. Healthy emotional outlet includes different activities such as exercising, listening to music, or watching TV. These are all things people may use to distract themselves from their emotions or to avoid a sticky situation altogether. However, it is possible for individuals to engage in emotional outlet in delinquent ways. For example, some teens tend to engage in risky sexual behaviors, alcohol use, and drug use in order to distract themselves from stressors. This can put teens into dangerous situations. Short-term emotional outlet may help ease emotions, but long-term emotional outlet in general is not the best coping strategy to deal with conflicts, as it can increase denial about a stressor, and thus increase a person's anxiety. This is predictive of depressive symptoms because it is used in the place of turning to others for support when needed or negotiating with parents in a calm manner. Research has shown that teenagers, especially females, typically exhibited higher usage of emotional outlet as a way to cope with parent-child conflict, and these results were similar across cultures. Collectivistic cultures typically do not find problem-focused coping strategies as permissible. Thus, many collectivistic teens resort to avoidant methods, such as emotional outlet. But research results show that perhaps parenting styles are becoming more and more similar across cultures, due to the similarity of emotional outlet usage throughout different cultures. What about problem-focused coping strategies? Consider the following scenario. You and your parents have an agreement where your curfew is 8 p.m. every day. No matter what happens, you have to be home by then. But there's a party you want to go to that doesn't end until at least 10 p.m. All your friends are going. How are you going to convince your parents to let you stay late? Some of you might try to negotiate. As a teenager, you do not have that much power over your parents. When emotions are high, it is even less likely that your parents will listen to what you want and for your negotiations to be sound. So, it's important to look at negotiation in the form of effective communication. Here are some universal techniques that may help with negotiation to help you better communicate as well as understand your parents. Firstly, there's active listening. Whenever a conversation begins to get heated, paraphrasing and perception checking can keep it from getting out of hand. For example, if you say, "You think it will be dangerous if I stay out too late. Am I understanding you correctly?" This lets your parents know that you do understand them before telling them what you want. Second, be polite and stay cool. Good communication is using conscious efforts to send clear messages while listening carefully. It is important to be polite and non-aggressive even when disagreements occur. Your parents do a lot for you, to say the least, so usually when you disagree with them, it's because they feel like they are doing what's best for you. Using our example, when you ask for an extended curfew and your parents say no, you might think that they are purposely making your life miserable, but most of the time it's out of concern for your safety. If you need to stay beyond 8 p.m., instead of saying, "You never let me stay out late," a more effective way of expressing what you want would be, "I know that I have an 8 p.m. curfew, but I have this party that I would really like to go to. I'll stay over at Mary's house, so I'll be safe." This gives more room for discussion because emotions are controlled. It's a reasonable request. And parents feel respected. Anger often comes from the perception that others are causing us unfair, avoidable grief. Learning to use a different point of view to reduce or prevent anger altogether will not only give room for discussion, but it also shows maturity, respect, and validation. It's not possible to preach proper negotiation techniques to adolescents without addressing how parents should respond and model proper communication to promote productive compromising and understanding to their children. Research has shown that parents who model positive negotiation and compromising skill produce children who are less likely to feel depressed during adolescence and experience less conflicts with them. Negotiation conflicts, learnt now, can greatly affect how teens communicate in their future relationships. And finally, support seeking, perhaps the most positive and adaptive form of coping strategies. Support seeking is a great way to get social support from friends or guidance from others, be it a teacher, a relative, or simply a friend. Surprisingly, it is more frequently used by girls than boys. This may be due to society's gender norms, oftentimes dictating that boys have to be strong and independent, whereas girls have less of that expectation. Having said that, research has shown that both male and female adolescents with positive support-seeking experiences show less risky behaviors and next-day worries. It can also help reduce stress, provide resources, and prevent problems from getting bigger. For example, counselors in schools often have experience teaching students how to reappraise conflicts positively and navigate difficult situations. So, boys and girls, don't be afraid to reach out for help, but make sure whoever you decide to share your feelings with are close to you and supportive. This will help you get a third-party perspective to find solutions. We hope this guide about good and bad coping strategies helped you think of better ways to navigate conflict with your parents. Just remember that this is a normal process of growing up, and everybody is going through it. Help is always there when you need it. Thanks for watching.